So sometimes I get comments and I just don't know what to do with them. And I posted a comment from this one person, and it says, Dave Way uses KRK V Series for his Atmos system, Atmos setup at Way Station Studios. I'm sure you've heard of Michael Jackson, Boyz II Men, BTS, TLC, etc. I go, all right, that's nice. Says no professional use KRK. Saying no professional use KRK is nonsense. It's true. They sound much better than the Yamaha HS series that are in many studios. I never heard of them. They're cheap monitors, I guess. As far as affordable monitors, they are top of the pile. I don't know if you want to brag about being on top of the pile of cheap monitors, but okay. They don't have the detail that high-end monitors have, but they certainly aren't bad and are definitely usable. I mean, right there, he says, they don't sound that good and they have a use. I mean, I guess you could use them for something, but I would never use them. So this usually with comments, with all comments, I try to answer every one of them, just to say, yeah, I acknowledge you've written to me, but this one's just dripping with attitude. So I just thought, well, let me look at this Dave Way guy. I don't know who he is, and he may be a nice guy. So I looked in, yeah, he has his 4 Grammys. He's mixed a bunch of stuff. Seems like a nice guy. But I'm looking, and I see the pictures, and I'll post these pictures so you can see them. And he does have an Atmos KRK system. And then if you look further, you see pictures of, his main monitors now are Genelecs. And then you go and see some other pictures and you go, wait a second. Now he has Tannoys and ATCs. And then you see another picture and you see Proax and Barefoot monitors. And I was going, well, there's a lot of studios that have a bunch of different monitors, but if mixing is your main business, you usually stick to 1 or 2 monitors, and that's that. I mean, I know with Serban, those Proax are everything. He has a pair of Questeds there, but he really doesn't use them. The Proax are everything is based off of those, the Proax with a subwoofer. So then I found a video of Dave Way talking to this guy about his monitors and how he's been using them for 25 years, the Tannoys, and for the last 2 years he got the ATCs and then he has some NS10s. No mention of KRKs in there. And then he has some hi-fi speakers. So the whole article I read on KRK, it's just dripping of promotion. That's all it is. Because at the end he says, you can't go bad if you use a pair of KRKs. And that's not really true. And I even did a little more research. I tried to dig through and find studios that actually have KRKs as their main monitors. Other than maybe E8s, that old ones that are lying around, you really don't see any big studio or any major artists using KRK monitors. They're really kind of, I hate to say this, they're just not great monitors. And a lot of times I find them, when I go visit a studio, I find them in the closet collecting dust because they've kind of given up on them. They can't get the parts and they really don't sound good. And, people got their ears educated. But this guy with, with this comment, it just, like I said, dripping of attitude. If I ever heard of Michael Jackson, why, I'll tell you something. I have when you're mixing stuff from artists after they've passed on, I have a problem with that because that artist is not putting his stamp of approval on it. So you don't know if that's what the artist really wanted to release. And I know they have to get things out there and it's a business and that, but unless the artist is alive to approve of the material, I don't know if it should be released. And I know there's a bunch of Prince stuff, and I know there's a bunch of Van Halen stuff that's recorded that hasn't been released, but I don't know if it ever should be released, because if the artist to release it, there may be a reason for that. I mean, there may be great stuff, but that's going off in a different direction. But I wanted to talk about this Dave Way using KRKs, and I even said, no way, because I don't believe it for a second. So he probably got them for free, and he probably did the promotion, and that's a fair trade. But saying that he's using them and he doesn't use anything else and that's all that he's considered, I just don't buy that. And I've even attached the video so you can see him talking about that, so you guys can make up your own mind.
We were talking earlier about the Tannoys.
Yeah. Well, I've had these for like 20 years, probably more. Yeah, those are 25. I think I've had these.
No, I think the late 70s, right?
These ones came out in the 80s. I
remember
think.
these,
Yeah,
yeah.
but they're the
They have the
concentric.
concentric
Yeah,
one?
exactly. So which is the Tannoy thing,
Yeah.
and was it Tannoy? You say Tannoy?
No, we say Tannoy.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
We say Tannoy, and we also call them concentrics as well.
But yeah,
we hear they're
but
called.
the imaging on
Just
these
call
is
them
just
hunting.
fantastic. Great imaging on them. Really, that's what I love about them. And then the ATCs, which we've talked about already, I love those. Those are dynamic and
You've recently
natural.
moved to those?
Yeah, well, about 2 years now. Yeah, but I just kept hearing. Actually, Dave Gilmour's studio had those. Was the first time I heard them. That was a long time ago. But I mixed the Ringo record on them. I thought they sounded great.
Fantastic.
And then little by little, a couple of other clients I work with. Alan Meyerson had them at his place for a while. I think he's still using them. I'm not sure. But
NS10s.
NS10s. These are custom NS10s. These are the first series, right? With the old tweeter. But if you look on the back, there's a custom crossover that my friend Dave McNair. Do you know Dave McNair?
I know who he is, but I don't know.
Dave McNair is a fantastic engineer, mastering engineer.
Oh, he built those?
Great guy. He designed the crossover.
But they don't sound like
years ago when I was an assistant at the Hit Factory. Right? So this is we're talking almost 30 years ago. Sorry. And Dave had...
You were 9.
I was very young. And Dave had designed them. And then I got a pair when I first came out here, because I remember I showed them to Bruce Swedeen. And when we were doing Michael Jackson's record, and Bruce was so excited, he was like, "This is the best thing I've heard in 30 years. These are great." So he
couldn't sound worse.
We used them on the Michael Jackson record, but I've had these for almost 30 years now, and I still, I don't play them loud, so I don't blow the woofers, especially now.
Right. And your ears.
Yeah. Yeah, but because what the crossover does is it takes out some of that mid-range honk and stuff, so they're more normal sounding. They still sound like NS10s, but you don't get into that thing where you have to make them so loud in order to hear what the bass is doing, and that you blow the woofer. You know what I mean?
Also, those things, if you don't put a badass amp on them, they're going to sound like shit.
Right.
You have to put like the really big, powerful amps on.
Yeah, I keep the Bryson 4B on them. Yeah,
the Bryson on them.
Yeah. But and then over here I've got some hi-fi speakers that belong to a friend of mine that hoping he never takes back, but they're called Sonus Faber, and they're like hi-fi speakers, but they sound fantastic, and I use those kind of, I like having speakers on the side so that I'm not listening, just in the middle of the speakers all the time. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to see how it fills the room without concentrating on what's coming out of this side and what's coming out of that side.
Yeah,
so
I agree. It makes sense.
That goes away when you're not sitting in front of the speakers.